What's going on, y'all? What it is. So let's go ahead and jump all over this. So the first thing I want to touch on is this situation that's going down with Claude Van Damme. I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but he is reportedly facing charges for having sex with women in Romania. Allegedly, he was accepting sex with several women as a gift. So according to the report, he allegedly met with several people who are also under investigation for sex trafficking crimes who offered to let him have sex with 5 Romanian models as a gift. Now, they're saying that the incident took place in Cannes, France, and it's up to the French government to authorize criminal proceedings. Now, it's unclear if it might happen, but sources say that it's looking like it's gonna happen. Now, it's important to note that Van Damme isn't the only public figure who has been accused of crimes associated with trafficking when it comes down to Romania, because you guys remember Andrew and Tristan Tate. They were just recently allowed to leave the country after they were arrested for the same charges back in 2022. But anyway, several media outlets have reached out to Van Damme's camp for a response, but they haven't gotten one yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what the French government position is going to be in all of this as it pertains to Jean-Claude. But anyway, let's move on to Diddy. We haven't talked about Diddy in a long time on this channel, but we're going to discuss him today because there's some situations that are popping up. Now, the first thing I want to discuss is the fact that Vlad was having a conversation with academics, and he basically told Act that he heard through somebody that's connected to the feds that Diddy was going to get bail. Check this out and I'll be back.
All right, well, I'm not 100% sure of this, but someone I know who, if you watch Vlad TV, you've seen this person on my show. Had a contact with the feds, and someone at the feds told him that Diddy's getting bail.
Now, there's a couple of things that I took away from that, and that's the fact that he just confirmed that he has those connections to the feds. People have been saying it all along or whatever the case may be, but not saying that Vlad has turned anybody in. No, that's not where I'm going, but at the end of the day, people have suspected for quite some time that he had at least some connections to the feds. Now, as far as Diddy being able to post bail soon, I don't know if I believe that, and the reason why, it actually points me to the next topic I was going to discuss as it pertains to Diddy, and that's the fact that Cassie has agreed to testify against Diddy in his upcoming trial. And so the whole gist around Diddy not being released is the fact that they wanted to keep potential victims safe, and I don't see them letting him out, which in fact Diddy could become a potential threat to Cassie and many others. So I don't see them letting him out before the trial, and why would you let him out during the trial, right? It just seemed like that would be an idiotic move. But listen, some strange things have happened, so it wouldn't be above the realm of possibility if Diddy did make bail, but I just don't see it. Now, it's important to note that Cassie turned down the opportunity to testify against Diddy anonymously. Nope, she's using her full government name, and it seems like she's standing on business. So apparently she didn't get everything that she wanted from Diddy. She wants justice now, and it's not all about the money. And so at the end of the day, she's going to take the stand and look that dude right in his eye. And I guess she's going to tell everybody, and the jury, the judge, the executioner, everybody within the courtroom, everything she knows about Diddy. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they're not going to be able to bring up the incident that took place in the hotel where he put pause on Cassie, but she knows other things and avenues about Diddy and everything that he partaked in. Now, what's interesting about this dynamic, if Cassie shows up to that courtroom with any Kim Porter receipts, my God, I'm going to go through the roof on that. I'm going to be on it like flies on you know what. But anyway, let's stay on Diddy because Terrence Howard has now entered the chat, and it seems as though that Terrence felt at one point in time that Diddy wanted to actually enter his back door.
Hey, did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there, and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music, and he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to you. That's what my assistant said. I was like, oh.
Now, remember, Cat Williams said that you got to tell Diddy no. You got to tell that brother no. And so this is the thing. I like the fact that Terrence Howard did not tiptoe around the situation like other celebrities and wanted to be vague with his response. He told his truth and what transpired with him. And so I give him thumbs up for that, because he was just straight up, just to the fact, to the point, and just kept it all the way 100. Now, Terrence went on to say that there are a number of producers that come in with that same attitude and motive, and you got to let them know, man, I'll put hands on you. I don't go that way. And so this is the thing. Diddy would have treated Terrence just like the women that he has in the past, because say if Terrence did swing in that way, he wouldn't have helped Terrence out with his music. It wasn't about the music. It was about getting with Terrence in an intimate manner. But again, shout out to Terrence for keeping it real. And I ultimately believe that Terrence would have swung on Diddy if Diddy really applied that pressure and like put his hands on him in that way. Yeah, I think it would have been a hot mess. But anyway, let's move along, because I want to talk about Drake and Kendrick Lamar briefly. Now, it's being alleged that Universal Music Group is wanting to settle a $250 million lawsuit with Drake behind the scenes, because they're afraid that Drake's legal team may find some dirty dealings as it pertains to the whole thing between Kendrick and Drake, and how Kendrick had this machine that was behind him during this run leading all the way up to the Super Bowl. So check this out and I'll be back.
Universal has potentially offered Drake $250 million to drop his lawsuit. The craziest part of this whole thing is Kanye told the truth on why Drake will win if it goes to court in his interview with DJ Academics. Kanye was explaining how this invisible hand was forcing artists to speak out against him. In particular, Ty Dolla $ign, where if he didn't speak out, they would cancel his tour and cut his artists.
And this is coercion. That's why going to be locked up someday. They said, Ty, you have to denounce Ye publicly, or we're going to drop your artist, Leon. We're going to cancel all your tours.
Where a judge has ruled in favor of Drake, denying UMG's motion to prevent his team from investigating executives' internal communication. What that means is his team can now look at all emails, documents, and UMG's promotional activities surrounding the Grammys and Super Bowl, which has now caused this rumor of a $250 million settlement if Drake drops his lawsuit. According to a very connected source close to Drake, UMG doesn't want this fight to go public. The insider claims the label is pushing hard to settle things before the lawsuit gains traction in court. While at the same time, Spotify is removing bot streams for the third month in a row from big artists, but obviously isn't going to drop any names. Where Kendrick went from 110 million monthly streams all the way down to 98 million, and Drake's didn't change. So Spotify removing all these bots could be their move to get out in front of what's to come with the Drake and Universal lawsuit as it continues. It's wild this whole thing started with Universal not wanting to pay Drake, and now they're going to have to pay him even more money.
All right, so you guys just witnessed all of that. Now, listen, I think both rappers have benefited from machines being put behind them as far as their progression within the hip-hop industry, but I just think within this particular position, a more formidable foe was on the other end, coupled with the fact that there are people that sit in these high positions that wanted to see the downfall of Drake anyway. So that didn't help. And this is the thing. Like, I don't look at this as career ending for Drake. I mean, this is like Ether from Nas to Jay-Z. I mean, Jay-Z was still able to thrive and become a billionaire. I think that Drake is still going to have his core fans and things like that, and Kendrick is going to thrive and do well too. So this situation will play out. We'll see how it goes. And for now, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. And I want to talk about Cory Holcomb and his conversation that he had with Cam Newton. So Cam was talking about open relationships and open marriages, and he brought up the fact that Will Smith and Jada have been open about their open marriage. And Cory Holcomb had this to say.
Now, there are celebrities who have accepted the poly and non-monogamous relationships. Some we know, Will Smith and Jada, they've been open about they have an open relationship.
But Will like guys.
Huh?
Will like guys.
How you know?
I live in LA. Does that make sense to you?
No.
I live in Los Angeles. There's a lot of opportunities I don't get because the guys don't want me to see them with their boyfriends. And I've suffered from that. It's like everybody know anyway. Everybody know anyway. So I'm saying, like, do you think me saying Will like guys? Because I said it and I can't take it back.
Yeah.
Because I believe it. I know it for the most part.
Okay.
By me saying that, I hope it doesn't strike a nerve in anybody. But I'm saying I live in LA.
Yeah.
And there's a lifestyle that is kept quiet.
A secret society.
Yeah, and it's like people like me suffer from this lifestyle because of the shame that some guys have of how they like to move. And I don't think that however you move is something you should hold against me. I think it's unfair.
All right, so you guys just witnessed all of that. Now, the reason why I think that Cory doesn't get the opportunities that he think he should, it's just all based off of his mouth. Dude is a very disrespectful guy. You know, he's always calling women out of their names. He's low vibrational. He has nothing positive to say ever about anybody or anything. And I just feel like people don't want to cancel around. And I think that's everything that Cory embodies and exudes. You know what I'm saying? And of course, if he was invited into one of those spaces and witnessed any man-on-man action, of course, he's going to tell it. It definitely will be the topic of discussion on his show 5150 the very next day, if not the same day or the same night rather. And you know, most people that have secret relationships going on don't want people around that's not going to participate, because at the end of the day, that means that you can't really go out and say anything if you do participate, because you'll be implicating yourself. But anyway, I'm gonna let this go right here. I want you guys to drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about everything I talked about within this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and if you're new here, consider subbing to the channel. I'll get with you guys later. Peace.